Let's start with the engine we're all familiar with, the traditional piston cylinder engine. It's tried and tested, reliable, and can be used for a variety of applications, most commonly in inline or V formations. Piston engines are also easy to maintain, don't burn much oil, and can be made to be economical with minimal emissions thanks to smaller displacements and a very efficient combustion cycle. One downside of these engines is that there are a lot of moving parts, however, including the pistons, intake and exhaust valves, and camshafts, which results in lots of reciprocating mass. This in turn means that these engines are rev limited due to the danger of valve float, where the valve springs can no longer keep up with the movement of the camshafts. Piston engines can also be very large, especially in inline configurations like the BMW Straight 6. These engines don't lend themselves to front-wheel drive cars or cars with small engine bays. That's where the neater packaging of a V6 opens up 6-cylinder usage to most cars, even in the likes of the MX-5. As for the rotary engine, one of the biggest benefits here is that it's extremely compact, meaning that you could swap it into almost any engine bay with space to spare. A rotary also has very few moving parts, and in the case of a single rotor unit, you're looking at only two things that actually rotate: the rotor itself and the eccentric shaft. This means that a rotary engine should be very reliable, but we'll get onto that in a second. The fact that there is no reciprocating mass in a rotary engine also means that it's smoother than a conventional piston engine and has the ability to rev higher. And as we already know, rotary engines sound pretty cool too. So what are the downsides? Well, this list is pretty long, so make yourselves comfortable. Firstly, rotary engines are well known for burning a lot of oil, and that's because oil is injected directly via throttle control into the rotor housing to keep the seals lubricated and chambers separated. If you're not on top of oil maintenance, and if you use the wrong grade of oil, it's not uncommon to run a rotary engine dry. Secondly, and although a rotary engine should by nature be very reliable, you'll probably have heard the phrase blown apex seals followed by a man crying in the corner, which is a very bad thing, because they seal the edges of the rotor against the rotor housing, and because they're prone to pitting or cracking, that means that a rotary engine will lose compression. Poor compression will result in misfiring, a reduction in power, a bad idle, and an engine that's hard to start when cold. You have been warned. Because the combustion chamber is so large, a portion of the air and fuel mixture will also not get burnt, meaning poor fuel economy and high emissions compared with traditional piston engines. The trade-off is that a rotary will therefore have a tendency to spit flames. So although rotary engines may sound like a good idea, they're flawed in their design thanks to seals that tend to fail, and because they burn a lot of oil, which results in terrible emissions. So there you have it, the differences between piston and rotary engines and their pros and cons.